and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Sims, and every other Friday, I bring you a short episode with the top diabetes stories and headlines happening now. The American Diabetes Association Scientific Sessions kicks off in 1 week, and we expect, as always, to get a lot of interesting information. I'm not covering in person this year, but I'll bring you any big announcements, and we will do a wrap-up in the news the following week. Our top story now, though, UVA with something new. Technology that allows an artificial pancreas system to adapt to users' changing needs beyond what's commercially available now. They're calling this adaptive biobehavioral control. It gives users a virtual tool to test different ways to manage their blood sugar using their own data. The new technology uses digital twins, computer models simulating how a person's body would process sugar, for example. The models help the artificial pancreas keep up with changes in the user's body and habits and gives the user a way to interact with the system. For example, somebody could try different settings, like how much insulin is released overnight using the simulation before applying that in real life. In a 6-month study, participants using the technology spent more time in a healthy blood sugar range, rising just a bit from 72% to 77%. I've reached out to UVA, and we'll do more on this digital twin technology in a future episode. 5 years after COVID-19 hit the U.S., a new study shows there is a connection with type 1 diabetes triggers. This is new research from the University of Utah, published in the journal Immunoinformatics. With T1D in particular, a COVID infection appears to trigger the immune system of people who have a prior susceptibility to the condition to subsequently developed type 1 symptoms. Both 2022 and 2024 research indicates there has been a significant increase in new onset type 1 diabetes. Tough to estimate, of course, how many cases may have been triggered by COVID because numerous viruses can spark an autoimmune response that activates type 1. And in fact, this is still a theory and not a proven cause. And in fact, the virus trigger is still a theory, a very well-respected theory, about what activates type 1. Again, it's important to note these researchers don't believe a COVID infection is causing diabetes, but rather triggering it in the same way certain environmental factors can trigger immune-related conditions like Crohn's and even psoriasis. Insulet announces Omnipod 5 for iPhone is now compatible with Dexcom. The Omnipod 5 app with Dexcom G7 and G6 compatibility is now available in the Apple App Store. However, please note, switching to a new Omnipod 5 device requires you to go through first-time setup again, and the instructions say insulin delivery history from previous pods will be lost when you switch to your new device, and adaptivity will start over. I have a link with the guide and the video to transfer settings and more information on this new integration, which a lot of you have been asking for. And Omnipod also announces a collaboration with Marvel on an original comic to celebrate representation for the diabetes community and empower people with diabetes to unleash their inner hero, according to the press release. Diasonic Sound of Strength features Anya, who was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So Anya is the hero here. She learns when her glucose levels are in range. She can take on anything and anyone. And good thing, because there's a big Marvel villain here called Despair. You're going to have to see how these things are spelled. All a play on the D for diabetes and Omnia for Omnipod. But Despair is a Marvel villain who preys on victims using their fear to strengthen himself, correlating with the negative emotions that can come with diabetes. The Big Friends for Life conference has a superhero theme this summer. This is one of many tie-ins I'm sure we will see. But boy, this is a big one. Marvel, pretty big superhero platform. Tandem is the latest partner for Abbott's future glucose ketone sensor, a new agreement to develop and commercialize integrated diabetes solutions that combine Abbott's future dual glucose ketone sensor with Tandem's AID systems to provide more options. The Abbott sensor, currently under development, will combine glucose and ketone sensing technology. This is to detect early ketone rise to avoid diabetic ketoacidosis. Sequel MedTech is also partnering with Abbott on this as part of their Twist pump launching later this year. New guidelines for the management of type 2 and prediabetes include tools clinicians can use to help patients stick to lifestyle interventions. The guidelines were released by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and they largely mirror lifestyle guidelines by the ADA, but add specifics about how doctors can help patients achieve their goals. There are 6 areas they're talking about here: sleep, stress, nutrition, physical activity, tobacco and alcohol, and social connection. The guidelines say this should not take place of medication, but should be in addition with tailored counseling. Microplastics from a widely used biodegradable material can enter the metabolic cycle of bacteria and cells in the gut after being ingested and could contribute to conditions like diabetes. Researchers in China and the United States teaming up on this say the microplastics were found to alter the gut metabolism and damage the gut barrier of mice. More study is needed to see what this means for people, but in recent years, microplastics have been found in human lungs, kidneys, blood, placenta, and breast milk. Over 19,000 cases of Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar are being recalled because they are not zero sugar, they are full sugar. This is an FDA-announced voluntary recall. It affects 12-pack and 24-pack cases of aluminum cans. Again, it's a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. We have a link in the show notes. We have a link to every story I do here. This one has more information about the product code and what to do if you have these items. A step forward for a device that uses your breath to gather information about your blood sugar. This is called Isaac. We mentioned it last year. The company is Prevent. You wear it on a lanyard and you breathe into it. The breathalyzer technology was inspired by diabetes alert dogs. The researchers here say they were able to successfully identify the specific molecules in breath that correlate with hypoglycemia, which is the scent that diabetic alert dogs can detect. They're moving forward, partnering with the IU School of Medicine in Indianapolis to test and validate the effectiveness of the device. And finally, Katie Bone is back on American Ninja Warrior, the youngest ever women's national winner. She hurt her knee at Olympic climbing trials back in 2023, but this week she was back on the show. In an interview, Katie said, quote, "Getting to come back and hit a buzzer on my first chance back on the course felt really, really incredible, very rewarding after everything I had to go through to get back there." We've talked to her on the podcast before. I will link that episode up. She is so inspiring. And if you're watching the show, keep an eye out. She'll be back. And that's in the news for this week. Again, we will be back with more information from the ADA scientific sessions as warranted, with a full show the Friday after the conference. And hey, if you're presenting at ADA, if you have information to share, if you're a public relations or marketing person for any of these companies, send me an email, Stacey@diabetes-connections.com. Let's get the word out. And as you listen, if you like what you hear, please share the show. Been doing this for 10 years, and word of mouth is still the best way to grow a podcast. And we really want everybody in the diabetes community to have access to great information and to be able to let me know what you want to hear more about. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.